In this video, we're going to cover one of 4 ways in which your website can leave you legally exposed.
Has gone live and they stumbled upon Sephora. I think at that point, one of the first main litigations to take place under that particular law, which is why maybe it wasn't taken as seriously. The tools were in place, but they were not being followed. They were not being implemented correctly. Todd Snyder was along the lines of what happened with Sephora. Same thing, not fulfilling the requests within a 40-day timeline, not communicating with the data subjects, asking for more information that was required. This was another landmark case that allowed CPPA to send the message that, hey guys, you need to make it easy for people to opt out. And that's a clear thing that came out of this one as well, along with Sephora. Do not ask for any information. There's no need for communication. But when somebody puts in an opt-out request, it should be quick, it should be seamless, and it should be done immediately. Governance, of course, and we see this a lot between marketing, legal, and we'll talk more about this, but the ownership of who's going to bell the cat, so to speak, is what is always left open. Correct.
This is the one that I think every organization, I know at the last organization I was at, if you had every single person in the company in a room and you said, which one of you actually owns consent, you could get a lot of hands in the air for a lot of things. Who owns marketing? I do. IT owns infrastructure. Operations got that customer data, but all of those intersect with consent and not a single choke point, not a single person who says, that's my job. That's why I'm always in your face about marketing data because I own consent and it buck stops at me. So Abhi, that's where you come in first and foremost, right? For a lot of organizations.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is where I think it starts with legal. It starts with the legal exposure that is possible, and then legal naturally moves towards either the marketing or the customer management teams, either one of the two, and they ask for assistance with that. Technology, of course, is underlying because your IT organization is driving the infrastructure upon which the business functions. But that choke point is a very clear problem because legal will say, yes, I own consent. I need to make sure that the company is protected from a legal standpoint, but I don't know all the different places consent is being tracked. And an example is email consent is sitting with another vendor. You have SMS consent sitting with a different vendor. You have direct mail or snail mail consent sitting in a very different system. Then you have the do not call list, which retailers have to maintain. That do not call list is sitting in some DB2 mainframe system. So now you have 4 or 5 different systems that have different images of the same person. And here's the kicker. There isn't a unique identifier between all of them. The do not call system works off of phone numbers. The email system uses the emails. The SMS works off of the phone numbers as well. But then when you're trying to do a match, you can't necessarily do a match based on these identifiers. You need something more than that. You need first name, last name. Then your physical snail mail is based on the address. When you get into addresses, you get into householding. Householding is nothing but all the people that are living in that particular household linked to that address. They become one single record, and that's called householding. So there are several reasons why this can get pretty complicated pretty fast, but it starts with somebody in legal or compliance saying, it's my problem. I'm going to hold the fort and make sure I bring all these people together. Then the process starts off for having a master data management system or a system which allows you to be able to consolidate and identify. And it also helps long-term because then it allows you to have a 360-degree view of that customer across all these consent platforms, because each of these consent platforms also have different data points. How many orders were placed, when this order was placed, what was placed, where did they ship it to? So that then you begin to create a 360-degree view of the customer.
Yeah, they're fantastic. And obviously, we have some other cases here where a former employee has access. The consent manager, the person who's in charge of that, has to know who has access to everything, API keys that are still active. But these are checklists that you need to maintain at all times. But obviously, the catalog of third-party inventory it's a rigorous, it's a process that even if you're trying to do it, you don't really know all your categorizations. Like you have to learn this. It's
Yep.
very not an easy thing to
Yeah.
do.
And part of the problem here also, Nick, is the fact that depending on the size of the organization, your vendor onboarding process is not streamlined. So in teams that have contract management teams or procurement teams, not every single vendor goes through them. Most of the time, business has a threshold of dollar amounts spent under which they can directly have a relationship with the vendor. If that threshold exceeds a certain number, some organizations will say we'll have to go through an RFP process, and then that's a very formal process, which is very well gated and monitored. But if a vendor is saying, "Hey, I want a quick and dirty solution. We are launching this campaign. We are just piloting this. This is going to be a proof of concept. We want to get going very quickly, and it's going to cost us less than $10,000." They go ahead and start that relationship, and next thing you know, data is flowing from customers. They're sitting on the website and they say, no, this is only going to be part of A/B testing, so it's going to be 5% of our customer traffic, but that 5% eventually matters as far as the data sharing is concerned.
These are incredible, I mean, like easy to know cases. Anyone who's been in the marketing side or e-commerce side, every one of these things has popped up at one point or another. And this is the final of four ways. This is, when it comes to consent, who on your team is ready
Yep.
to handle it all. And I've seen the impact of having you all become part of the organization and start to pull that expertise
And
together
that's
within you.
where you're right. I mean, that's where we can herd the cats, so to speak, towards a, but somebody in the organization has to put their hand up and say, we need help. And I will try and identify the right person. And that's where the ownership stays with the company. We can then take the reins from that point on, but somebody has to bring us in. Yep.